Ladies, let me ask you a question. Have you ever noticed that your clothes don't quite smell as fresh as they should after a wash? I'm talking about that subtle, musty scent that somehow creeps in, even when you're sure you've done everything right. I've been there, and trust me, it's frustrating. You wash your clothes, throw them in the dryer, and then wonder why they still smell, well, a little off. I had this issue for a while, and it wasn't until a friend casually mentioned it that I realized the source of the problem. She said, "Have you ever thought about cleaning your washing machine?" Now, I don't know about you, but I had never given my washing machine a second thought. I just assumed that because I was using it to clean my clothes, it was staying clean, right? Well, that's where I was wrong. It turns out our washing machines are like little petri dishes for bacteria if they're not properly maintained. Think about it. Every time you do laundry, you're mixing detergent, sweat, dirt, and oils from our bodies. The washer gets wet, the moisture hangs around, and before you know it, you've got a breeding ground for mildew and mold. And guess what? That mildew can start to transfer onto your clothes, especially fabrics that hold onto moisture, like towels or workout gear. And that's how we end up with clothes that smell like they've been left in the laundry for too long. Doctors are finally speaking up about this issue, and it turns out that it's more common than we think, especially for women of a certain age. As we get older, our skin becomes more sensitive, and our noses start to lose their sensitivity to certain odors. We don't always notice these smells until someone else does. So I'm sure you can imagine how embarrassing it can be if a friend or family member leans in for a hug and recoils because of that musty scent. It's not exactly the way we want to be remembered, right? So, here's the deal. We need to start giving our washing machines a little more love. It's not just about throwing in the detergent and fabric softener and calling it a day. If you don't clean your washing machine regularly, you're just making the problem worse. That's right. Over time, detergent and grime build up in the nooks and crannies of your washer. And it's not just about the visible stuff, it's the hidden moisture and bacteria that you don't see but can definitely smell. Now let me share a little trick that's been a total game changer for me. I started setting a reminder on my phone to run an empty wash with hot water and a cup of white vinegar. It's a simple, all-natural way to clean out the grime and get rid of that hidden mildew smell. It's incredible how much fresher your clothes smell once your washing machine is in tip-top shape. I do this about once a month, and it's made a huge difference. And don't forget to leave the door open after you've done your laundry, especially if you've washed a load with towels or anything that's likely to retain moisture. Letting the machine air out for a while helps prevent any lingering dampness, which is prime real estate for mildew to grow. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, but I've been washing my clothes for years and they've never smelled like this before. Well, that's the thing. Aging appliances, combined with the fact that we're washing our clothes differently as we get older, can contribute to these smells. Plus, we all know how life can get busy, and sometimes it's easy to forget the small things, like wiping down the rubber seal around the door or leaving the washer open to dry out. But here's the truth. You don't have to accept that weird, musty smell just because your washing machine has been working hard for years. A little maintenance goes a long way, and with just a bit of effort, you can ensure that your clothes come out smelling fresh every time. So, here's the takeaway from this part. Don't forget about the machine that's supposed to be making your clothes smell fresh. Clean it regularly. Run a monthly maintenance wash with vinegar and leave it open to air out. Your clothes will thank you for it. And best of all, so will anyone who comes in for a hug. All right, ladies. Let's talk about something we've all done at some point. Overloading the washing machine. We've all been there, right? The laundry's piling up. You've got a million things to do. And you think, I'll just stuff a few more shirts in there. It's fine. You hit the start button, and off it goes. And when it's done, you pull out your clothes, only to find that they don't smell as fresh as they should. And sometimes they even have that damp, musty smell that just won't go away. Well, let me tell you, overloading the washing machine is one of the biggest culprits when it comes to mildew smells in clothes. And no, it's not just about the laundry looking packed and organized inside the drum. It's about the fact that when the washer is overloaded, your clothes don't get the proper space to move around and agitate like they should. That means the detergent isn't getting evenly distributed. The rinse cycle isn't doing its job. And the clothes aren't fully cleaned. And all of that trapped moisture. It's the perfect breeding ground for bacteria and mildew. I had to learn this the hard way. I used to pride myself on how much laundry I could stuff into one load. It was all about efficiency, right? More clothes, less time. But after a while, I started noticing that my clothes didn't feel as fresh as they used to. The towels felt a little stiff, and my favorite sweater just didn't smell as clean, no matter how many times I washed it. I asked a few of my friends, and it turns out they were having the same problem. That's when I decided to ask the experts. It's funny because I always thought I was saving time and energy by fitting in extra clothes. But according to laundry professionals, overloading the washer is actually wasting both time and energy. The extra load forces the machine to work harder, and it's less efficient in getting your clothes clean. The detergent gets diluted because it can't circulate properly, and the clothes don't rinse out all the soap or dirt. Now here's the thing. Especially as we get older, we start to notice that our clothes need a little more attention. The body's natural oils, our sweat, and even things like hair products can build up on fabrics. If your washing machine isn't giving those clothes the proper care, all that buildup stays there, and that's when the musty smell sets in. But don't worry, there's a simple fix. First, stop trying to fit everything into one load. It sounds basic, but separating your laundry by type and fabric makes all the difference. Towels with towels, delicates with delicates, and the heavier fabrics on their own. This will give each item room to move around and get thoroughly cleaned. Plus, it helps your washer do its job more efficiently. And who doesn't want that? I also started paying attention to the weight of my laundry loads. If the machine is too full to properly agitate, the detergent and water just can't circulate. Well, this results in soap residue that clings to fabrics, leaving them with a faint, unpleasant smell even after drying. And let's face it, no one wants to walk around smelling like stale laundry. You want fresh, clean clothes that actually feel fresh and clean, right? And here's another tip. If your washer has a deep clean or extra rinse setting, use it. These settings can help flush out any detergent residue that might get trapped in the fabrics. I always use this setting when washing my towels and sheets, especially after I've noticed they're not smelling as fresh as they should. Trust me, you'll be amazed at how much fresher your laundry will smell after that extra rinse. So here's the bottom line. Overloading your washing machine might seem like a time saver, but it's actually costing you in the long run. It's not just about efficiency. It's about making sure your clothes are getting the proper care they deserve. Take the time to separate your laundry. Don't pack the washer to the brim, and use the extra rinse option when needed. Your clothes will thank you. And so will everyone who gets close enough to catch a whiff of that fresh laundry scent. All right, ladies, here's one that might surprise you. the washing machine itself needs a good cleaning from time to time. I know. It's easy to assume that because you're using soap and water to clean your clothes, the machine is staying squeaky clean too. But the truth is, washing machines are like anything else in our homes. They get dirty too. And when you don't clean your washing machine regularly, it can actually start to contribute to that mildew smell we're all trying to avoid. Let me take you back to a few months ago when I was really struggling with this issue. I noticed that even after washing my clothes with fresh detergent, they still didn't smell that fresh when they came out of the machine. They weren't stinky, but they had this faint, musty scent that didn't seem to go away, no matter how long I left them to air out. So I decided to check the washing machine itself. What I found wasn't pretty. Over time, soap scum, fabric softener residue, dirt and oils from our clothes all build up inside the machine. Even though your clothes are getting clean, the inside of the washer can turn into a breeding ground for mold and mildew, especially in the nooks and crannies that you can't always see. I found mold lurking around the rubber seal of the door and even in the detergent drawer. That's when I realized that my washing machine was just as guilty of causing the smell as my laundry habits. Now I know the thought of cleaning the washing machine itself doesn't sound glamorous, but trust me, it's essential, and it's not hard at all. I started by running an empty cycle with hot water and a cup of white vinegar. Vinegar is great for breaking down soap, scum, grime, and bacteria. Plus, it helps to neutralize any lingering odors. After the vinegar cycle, I ran a second cycle with just hot water and a half cup of baking soda. This step helps freshen up the machine and really gives it that clean, crisp smell. Once the cycle is done, I always make sure to wipe down the rubber seal around the door, which can easily trap moisture and grime. I just use a damp cloth with a little bit of mild detergent. Don't forget the detergent drawer either. I make sure to remove it, rinse it thoroughly, and scrub it if needed to get rid of any buildup. And let's not forget about the area around, the filter, if your washing machine has one. It's amazing how much lint, dirt, and soap scum can accumulate in there over time. After I gave my washer this little TLC session, I was honestly shocked at how much fresher my laundry smelled. After every wash, my clothes no longer carried that musty smell, and I was confident that the inside of my washing machine was finally as clean as my clothes. The key to avoiding mildew or stale smells in the washing machine is to clean it regularly, about once a month if you can swing it. And here's a little bonus tip. After you finish washing, always leave the door open to let the inside dry out. It's such a simple habit, but it makes a huge difference. Closing the door after every wash traps moisture inside, which is exactly what you don't want if you're trying to avoid that mildew smell. You might be wondering, well, what if I don't have the time for all this? I hear you. We're all busy. But cleaning your washing machine doesn't have to be a huge chore. It's just a little effort every now and then, and it can make a big difference in the freshness of your laundry. Plus, think of it as an investment. The cleaner your washer, the cleaner your clothes, and the fresher you'll smell. It's a win-win situation, right? All right, we're down to the final mistake, and I promise this one's a biggie. Let's talk about drying your clothes. Now, drying clothes properly seems like an obvious step, right? You throw them in the dryer, or hang them up, and that's that. But here's where things can go wrong. If you're not drying your clothes thoroughly, or heaven forbid, you leave them damp in the laundry basket, then that mildew smell is bound to creep in. And trust me, we do not want that. I learned this lesson the hard way a while ago. It was a rainy week, and I decided to hang my clothes on the drying rack instead of using the dryer. A bit eco-friendly, right? But With the humidity in the air, those clothes stayed damp for way too long. And when I finally got around to folding them, that musty mildew scent hit me like a ton of bricks. It wasn't just the towels that were affected. My shirts, sheets, even my favorite sweater all had that awful smell. And it's one of those smells that lingers, you know? Even after you've washed it again, it's still there, hiding in the fabric. Here's the thing. Damp clothes create the perfect environment for mildew. It thrives in warm, moist conditions, and if you don't give your clothes enough time to fully dry, you're just inviting it in. Whether you use a dryer or a drying rack, the key is to make sure your clothes are completely dry before you put them away. If you're using a dryer, make sure you don't overcrowd it. I know. You're trying to save time. But when you pack the dryer too full, the air can't circulate properly, and the clothes don't get dried thoroughly. They might feel dry on the outside, but deep inside the fabric, there could still be moisture trapped, and that's when you start to smell it. The damp, musty odor that nobody wants to claim. And if you're air drying, make sure you're not leaving clothes hanging for too long, especially in a humid room. I know it's tempting to leave things out to dry overnight, but if it's too damp in the room, it's just going to make the problem worse. I started setting a timer for myself. If I hang up clothes, I make sure they get moved into a dry area after a certain time, even if they're not fully dry. You'd be surprised at how much of a difference this makes. Now, I also have a few tips to help dry things more efficiently. First, if you've got towels, sheets, or heavier fabrics, give them a quick spin in the dryer before air drying. This helps to get rid of most of the moisture so they dry faster and more evenly when you hang them up. And here's a trick I use for things like delicate fabrics. Put them in the dryer with a clean, dry towel. The towel will help absorb the moisture, and your clothes will dry faster without the risk of that wet dog smell. And don't forget about your dryer vent. If the vent gets clogged with lint, the dryer can't work properly, and your clothes may not dry all the way. Check it regularly and give it a clean out, especially if you're using the dryer a lot. I know it's easy to overlook, but keeping that vent clear can really make a difference in how fresh your clothes smell after drying. Here's the bottom line. Drying your clothes properly is just as important as washing them properly. If you don't get rid of all that moisture, mildew can start to form, and suddenly your freshly laundered clothes are anything but. So, whether you're using a dryer or air drying, make sure everything is completely dry before you fold it and stash it in the closet. I promise, taking that extra step will save you a lot of trouble and embarrassment in the long run.